a bunch of moves happened around the NFL. I want to just run through all of them. We'll start with this. The Giants franchise tagged defensive end Leonard Williams. The Chiefs have franchise tagged defensive tackle Chris Jones. The Panthers have signed former Browns linebacker Christian Kirksey to a 2-year deal worth $16 million. The Vikings gave Kirk Cousins a 2-year contract extension worth $66 million. Remember, in 2018, Kirk Cousins signed a 3-year contract, and 2020, this upcoming year, would have been the final year of that contract. Instead, they extended him, so now Kirk Cousins will be guaranteed in Minnesota through the 2022 season. The Titans have franchise tagged running back Derrick Henry. A lot of people are very upset about this. Remember, the Titans paid their quarterback Ryan Tannehill a ton of money, but they refused to give their running back Derrick Henry a long-term contract, even though he's 26 years old, just turned 26, and the best running back in the NFL. And I think what happens here is that the Titans not giving Derrick Henry a long-term contract really shows how the NFL views the running back position. Nobody trusts running back health or longevity in the NFL. They all view success for a running back as temporary. And so nobody wants to pay a running back long-term because they feel like the final years of the contract are just dead weight every single time. Number 6, the Miami Dolphins gave offensive guard Eric Flowers a 3-year, $30 million deal. It's about $20 million guaranteed. So the Miami Dolphins made their offensive line better. He originally was drafted 9th overall by the Giants in 2015. He failed. He did pretty bad with the Giants. People in New York labeled him a bust. And then last year with the Redskins, Eric Flowers got moved from offensive tackle inside to the interior guard position on the offensive line. And it was a massive, massive success. And so he's really talented, and having a good offensive guard is good for the Dolphins. Great move by them. Their offensive line got better. The Dolphins also gave corner Byron Jones a 5-year, $82.5 million deal. $57 million guaranteed. For now, he is the highest paid corner in the NFL. And people knock Byron Jones for not getting enough interceptions over the years recently. But you also have to talk about the fact that statistically, man, people do not complete a lot of passes against Byron Jones. He's a really good cover guy, and he's just hard to complete a pass against. Byron Jones is a really good corner. I'm glad he got paid. Number 8, the Giants signed former Panthers corner James Bradbury to a 3-year deal worth $45 million, $32 million guaranteed. So he's the new starting corner in New York. Good for the Giants, helping their defense. The Browns have signed former Falcons tight end Austin Hooper to a 4-year deal worth $44 million, $23 million guaranteed. The Browns also added offensive tackle Jack Conklin with a 3-year, $42 million deal, and the Browns solidified their backup quarterback position by signing Case Keenum to a 3-year deal worth $18 million. Case Keenum has made some pretty solid amounts of money over the course of his career. Good for him. First of all, it's good to have a better backup in Cleveland in case Baker Mayfield gets injured or completely implodes. The Cleveland Browns have a pretty solid backup quarterback. It's one of the better backups in the league. Good for the Browns. And Baker Mayfield had better find a way to succeed in Cleveland. Their offensive line is now better. They have Austin Hooper at tight end, Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry at receiver, Nick Chubb at running back, plus they also still have David Njoku at tight end. They have 2 great tight ends, 2 great receivers, a great running back, and an upgraded offensive line. Baker Mayfield had better find a way to make it work in Cleveland. And people are saying that maybe the Browns are going to trade David Njoku away from the Cleveland Browns. It makes no sense. They're not going to do that. David Njoku's contract is really cheap. He's only $3 million a year. He also didn't really play much last year, meaning he had very low production levels. And the trade value right now for David Njoku is not as good as it really should be, but because of the lack of production, there's a lot of doubt related to David Njoku, so he's just not a good trade piece. And I think David Njoku's better off by the Browns are better served by keeping David on their roster and having just 2 great tight ends than trying to move David Njoku, who, again, he's cheap, doesn't have high trade value, he's not going to go anywhere. So the Browns just have a massive embarrassment of riches from an offensive weapon standpoint. The Buccaneers have re-signed defensive end Jason Pierre-Paul to a 2-year deal worth $27 million. The Falcons have made a trade for tight end Hayden Hurst from the Ravens. The Falcons got tight end Hayden Hurst and a 2020 4th-round pick. The Ravens in the trade got a 2020 second round pick and a 2025th round pick. The 49ers have traded defensive tackle DeForest Buckner to the Colts for the Colts 2020 first round pick. The 49ers now have the 13th overall pick in the NFL draft. And after the trade, DeForest Buckner signed a new contract with the Colts, reportedly a 5-year contract worth $21 million a year. And the Colts, by the way, have been really financially conservative over the last couple of years. We've been waiting and waiting. When are the Colts going to make a big move? And people out of Indianapolis are saying that this was just too good a trade to not have happen. And so good for the Colts. They finally spent their money. They got a really great defensive tackle, and I'm happy for their team. And it's pretty sad and interesting. The 49ers defensive line was this incredible beast last year. They led the 49ers to the Super Bowl in 2019. And it's sad. It's already separating. It's already coming apart. That great legendary defensive line in San Francisco last year was their year to capitalize on it. And they weren't able to do it. That's unfortunate. And I think a lot of the blame from that Super Bowl does go on the quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo. There were opportunities in that game, and Jimmy Garoppolo did not make them happen. That's sad for the 49ers. They had a great quarterback, they had a great defensive line, and they weren't able to capitalize in 2019 and win the Super Bowl. Number 15, the Bengals used the franchise tag on receiver A.J. Green. What I'm told is that he wants a long-term contract, and the Bengals are not giving him what he wants. Number 16, the 49ers re-signed defensive lineman Eric Armstead. They gave him a 5-year deal worth $85 million. Good for the 49ers. Sad to see DeForest Buckner go, but hey, they gave Eric Armstead a new contract. 5 years, $85 million. It's reasonable. Not cheap at all, but that's less than, he's not making like $20 million a year, so that's solid for the 49ers. The Patriots have re-signed safety Devin McCourty to a 2-year, $23 million deal. The Ravens have traded for defensive end Calais Campbell. They traded with the Jaguars. The Ravens got Calais Campbell, and the Jaguars get the 2020 5th-round pick from the Ravens. This is a crazy cheap move for the Ravens to get a 5-time Pro Bowl defensive end for this price. I mean, he is 33 years old, but still good for the Ravens. They got a pretty good defensive end that'll last them at least 1 year with Calais Campbell. Good for them. The Bears signed tight end Jimmy Graham to a 2-year deal worth $16 million. Good for the Bears. They got a new tight end. The Lions gave former Patriots linebacker Jamie Collins a 3-year, $30 million deal. Jamie Collins is being reunited with Matt Patricia. Matt Patricia was the defensive coordinator in New England, and Jamie Collins goes to play for him again because he's now the head coach of the Detroit Lions. Good for him. Number 21, the Broncos signed Graham Glasgow, an offensive guard who was previously with the Lions, to a 4-year, $44 million deal, $23 million guaranteed. The Broncos' offensive line will be better next year. Added Graham Glasgow, a guard. They're going to get offensive tackle Juwan James back from injury next year. Good for the Broncos. Their offensive line is slowly getting better. The Dolphins signed linebacker Kyle Van Noy from the Patriots. They are reuniting Kyle Van Noy with the Dolphins head coach Brian Flores. Remember, Brian Flores used to coach Kyle Van Noy in New England. Kyle Van Noy is getting a 4-year, $51 million deal in Miami. Great look, man. $51 million to go live in Miami and play football. Good for Kyle Van Noy. The Cowboys gave receiver Amari Cooper a new contract worth 5 years, $100 million. Good for him. He basically signed the deal that Dak Prescott would not. The Texans signed star receiver is a stretch. The Texans have signed a pretty good receiver, Randall Cobb, from the Cowboys. They gave him a 3-year, $27 million deal. I want to talk about this for a minute because I really respect what Randall Cobb did. Last offseason, Randall Cobb had a couple options. He had a 1-year, I believe, $5 million deal with the Dallas Cowboys, and he had a couple other options that were longer term, but like a 3-year, $9 million deal. So Randall Cobb could have taken a 3-year deal, made $3 million a year, and played football for the next 3 years. Randall Cobb decided, you know what, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go to the Cowboys. I'm going to play on a prove-it contract, meaning I'm going to take less money for 1 year and show the world, hey, I'm a good receiver. I can play. I deserve a bigger contract. That's exactly what he did. Randall Cobb went to the Cowboys, proved himself. Houston has now given him a bigger contract. Good for Randall Cobb. He earned it. He did a prove-it contract. He got what he wanted. I'm really happy for him. Number 25, the Giants have signed former Packers linebacker Blake Martinez to a 3-year deal worth $30 million. And number 26, the Bears have signed, a big move, a pass rusher, Robert Quinn, to a 5-year, $70 million deal. So Robert Quinn paired up with Khalil Mack. That's going to be scary. I feel so bad for quarterbacks in the NFC North. And that rounds up everything that happened in the last 2 days related to the NFL. Let me see. Before we end the topic, let me make sure there's nothing new happening in the NFL. No new signings that I can find. We do have Thomas Davis is signing with the Redskins. Derek Watt, a fullback, is signing with the Steelers. Good for him, Derek Watt, the other brother. And then do we have... the Chargers got right tackle Brian Bulaga to a 3-year, $30 million deal. Jason Witten is signing with the Raiders. That's weird. Never thought that would happen. And Phillip Rivers. Oh my gosh, breaking news. Phillip Rivers is heading to the Indianapolis Colts. I cannot believe this. He signed a 1-year deal worth roughly $25 million. Wow. I am surprised to hear that. Good for him. What this means is that... Here's why this is interesting to me, because... Oh, man, I'm so surprised by this. The Phillip Rivers going to the Colts. They have Jacoby Brissett. They're getting Phillip Rivers. Are they going to draft a quarterback? What that would tell me is they're probably not going to draft a quarterback. My guess now is that the Colts are not planning to draft a quarterback this year. Maybe they're going to get a guy later like Jacob Eason or Jordan Love. But I think the Colts are saying, hey, we have a good football team. We got DeForest Buckner. We have a early pick in the draft. I guess maybe they don't. They traded with the 49ers. Point remains, the Colts are going for it. They are no longer probably in the market for a young quarterback. The Colts have said, hey, we have Phillip Rivers, we have DeForest Buckner, we are going for a Super Bowl. We're giving everything we have. Good for the Colts, man. The Colts believe, and I agree with the Colts. The Colts have a really, really good roster, and they believe with Phillip Rivers, they can win a Super Bowl. I think they're not wrong. And how cool would it be to see Phillip Rivers win a Super Bowl with the Indianapolis Colts? Oh my gosh. I'd be so happy for them. And so, wow, this is big news. Good for them. And I'm going to go watch Phillip Rivers play next year in Indianapolis. I'll be at a game. I'm going to live in Cincinnati. I'm moving there in August, and that's an hour-and-a-half drive, Cincinnati to Indianapolis. I'm going to go watch Phillip Rivers play live next year. That'll be so much fun. And wow, what a fun thought to see Phillip Rivers in a different uniform, have a really, really good roster around him. I would not discount the Colts. The Colts have an opportunity now with a good quarterback and a really scary good roster. The Colts are a team that could potentially win a Super Bowl again. Oh my gosh. I'm so happy for the Colts. The other news around the league, the Raiders are signing linebacker Corey Littleton to a 3-year, $36 million deal. Let's see, what else? Matt Ryan news. Matt Ryan's donating money. Don't care about that. I mean, I do. That's good, but it's not what I'm looking for. The Jaguars have signed linebacker Joe Schobert to a 5-year, $53 million deal. He is from the Cleveland Browns. The Dolphins are trying to sign Jordan Howard, a running back from the Eagles. That'd be another big move for the Dolphins. Oh, my gosh. And the Titans are signing Vic Beasley to a 1-year, $12 million deal. That's all I have, guys. That's all the news around the league so far, and all the that's as up to date as I can possibly be on what's going around the NFL. And those are all the moves. In case you don't know, Strong Opinion Sports is not just a YouTube channel. It is also a full audio podcast. You can find it on Spotify, on iTunes, on Google Play, pretty much everywhere you find podcasts. And if you like podcasts, please do me a huge favor and give it a listen.